The myth of Eros and Psyche often gets reduced to a love story, but that's not what it's about at all. It begins with the jealousy of a goddess, mostly because a lot of Greek myths start out that way. A king and queen of a distant land had three beautiful daughters, but the youngest is by far the loveliest, with a beauty that borders on the supernatural. As she grew, people far and wide, hearing of the young girl, would travel just to lay eyes upon her. This went on to the point that they began to neglect the temples of Aphrodite, believing that the young woman was an earthly version of her. As her offerings dwindled, Aphrodite looked for the source and found the princess. Psyche is lovely, graceful, even kind. As Aphrodite watches her, she becomes irritated that so much is made of this human. She is no big deal compared to the goddess of love and beauty. Is she? But Psyche appears to grow lovelier each day. Jealousy sets into Aphrodite's heart, and with her offerings and worship shrinking in favor of this human, she decides that punishment must be made. Psyche never asked for the attention. In fact, it made her extremely uncomfortable. Miserable and isolated, she was still unmarried. Her father sought the oracle to determine what to do and discovered that Psyche was destined to marry a non-human monster that even Zeus approached with caution. She was to be placed in funeral garb and set atop a mountain, alone that she might be found by her husband. I'm thinking there might be some goddess interference going on right there. Having set things in motion to be rid of Psyche, Aphrodite called her son, Eros, to her side. She sets him the task of punishing the mortal woman. Go to Earth, find Psyche, pierce her with one of your love arrows, and force her to fall in love with a horrible, ugly, impoverished man. A little harsh for being born that way, but who are we to tell a goddess to leave well enough alone? Meanwhile, Psyche's father had done as the oracle suggested. She was dressed in funeral garb and escorted to the top of a nearby mountain. There she was left to whatever the fates had in store. She looked around and waited. As she stood there, Zephyrus, the western wind, picked her up and brought her to a meadow. Probably cheaper than Delta. Eros flies down and makes ready to complete the instructions his mother has given him. Seeing Psyche in the distance, he pulls his bow taut, making ready to pierce her with one of his arrows. Except things immediately go sideways. Fate steps in and causes Eros to accidentally wound himself instead of his target. In surprise, he looks up and falls in love with the very person he was sent to destroy. I'm seeing elements of karma happening here. This is a very Greek myth sort of problem to have. He creates a home and disguises himself. Psyche, seeing the new surroundings, goes inside to explore. I mean, who wouldn't? It's not every day you get dressed up in death garb and then whisked away by the wind, right? I would be curious by the appearance of a new home as well. She learns that this is the home of her new husband. By entering, she has agreed to be his wife. Looking around, she sees mosaic floors, tall columns, bejeweled benches, ivory ceilings, and embossed artwork of animals on the walls. A voice then tells her that she will be served by attendants who would ensure her every need is met, though she would not see them. A feast was prepared with all her favorite foods. Music softly played in the background. Though she was now a married woman, she sat alone at the table. Finally, she retired to bed. There, her new husband finally joined her. The room was dark. He said not a single word to her, but consummated their union. Before dawn's rays entered, he was gone. When Psyche woke, she realized She had not seen his face nor heard his voice the entire night. This went on for weeks. Psyche explored the hall and lands during the day, her every whim fulfilled. At night, her husband joined her in bed, taking her body and then leaving before the sun's rays appeared. It was not long before she fell pregnant. Psyche's sisters had been searching for any word of her fate. Believing she had died, they climbed to the top of the mountain to mourn her. The voice warned Psyche that if she should hear the lamentations of her sisters, not to answer, or it would bring destruction to them both. At first, Psyche agreed. Protecting her new husband and home was her priority. But soon, as the baby grew, she found that she desperately wanted to see her sisters. Becoming nearly sick with want, Eros relented. He did not want his young bride to be unhappy. That night, when he visited in the dark, he gave permission for her to see her sisters. He warned her again that she should not disclose the nature of their relationship, nor try to discover who he was, or all they had would disappear. Overjoyed at the opportunity to see her family, she gladly agreed to his terms. What followed has been relayed in several folklore tales. The sisters, jealous of their sibling, convince her to commit the very act she was warned not to do. All that she loves and holds dear disappears, and she is left searching for what has been lost. The sisters bring about their own demise, and the young beauty must now pass tests of endurance to prove she is worthy. But the tests of Psyche are for another day. Neither of these young people really chose the situation they were thrown into. Psyche is isolated by a beauty and a prophecy she never asked for. And Eros is trying to protect a relationship that can only exist under impossible conditions. He asks her to trust him without fully understanding him, while she is expected to build a life around something she cannot see. That is a huge ask for anyone. The harmony of their life together is disrupted by the pettiness of others. It was always going to be for a relationship started in secret. Often it does not survive the light shown on it. The myth isn't telling us that curiosity is a flaw, or that Psyche should have simply obeyed directions. It reminds us that trust, love, and understanding are rarely simple. Sometimes people can genuinely care for one another and still be trapped by circumstances larger than themselves. In the end, both Eros and Psyche have to grow and be tested before they can truly be together. That's the real heart of the story. Love isn't about blind obedience. It's about becoming the kind of person capable of standing beside another person with your eyes fully open.